What's up, everybody? Today's video is the story of Pep Guardiola versus the world. My name's Greg, an American living abroad in Spain, learning the beautiful game of football, one reaction at a time with your help. Today's video is brought to you by Soccer Stories. Oh my goal. That is a cool name. I will definitely include a link in the description so you can show them some love. This video here is in high demand. My man Alex D and of course my man UK both have been wanting me, and a lot of other people have been wanting to see the reaction to this, so I can definitely appreciate and respect that. And I'm super excited to do it because I mean, this is a coach. I love to hear how coaches think, and I've already heard some of the things that he has said, so I know he thinks a lot how I think and a lot of my coaching friends think. So but let's go ahead and just jump right in here. It should be good. Let's go.
Guardiola! Guardiola! Pep Guardiola is once again on top of the world. The Catalan coach won his second treble, and he
Wait, I want to see when this is. Hold up. Okay, this is a year ago. Okay.
assured he's not done. The former FC Barcelona manager is ecstatic, but his journey in football, he's not done of the world. Guardiola!
They come out smoking a cigar. There you go.
Pep Guardiola is once again on top of the world. The
Really?
Catalan coach won his second treble, and he is
Oh, Catalan coach? So he's from Spain? Like, I feel like I'm like hesitating because I should have known that. But oh wow. So if he's from Catalan, that means that when he was coaching Barcelona, he was coaching his home team. Cool.
assured he's not done. The former FC Barcelona manager is ecstatic, but his journey in football was much tougher than most people know, to the point that he wanted to quit on his dream. Ready to get emotional? Here's how Pep built his legacy and became the GOAT of coaches.
I'm not moving from this seat.
Josep Guardiola's life story doesn't have one of those key moments in which the main character suddenly discovers that he or she loves football. Pep is, and always has been, obsessed with the game. And even though many people think he's from Barcelona, the Blaugrana icon's roots were far from there. Born in 1971 in Santpedor, a small Catalonian town 52 kilometers
Okay, so he's not from Barcelona, but he's still from Catalan, which is up in that area.
away from Barcelona, little Josep was the third of 4 kids. Son to a bricklayer and a salesman, Pep grew up in a middle-class environment, and while many assumed he'd follow in his father's footsteps as a construction worker, he just wanted to play football. There was always a surefire way to make him happy at Christmas, and that was to give him a football as a present. He was always with a ball at his feet. Pep's obsession with football was so intense that it wasn't a surprise for his parents when he chose to start playing at an academy level. Guardiola's first step in youth football wasn't at La Masia as you would have expected, even though he was an FC Barcelona fan. Playing for the Blaugrana was still an unimaginable scenario for him. The youngster instead joined Gimnàstic Manresa, a humble side that was closer to his hometown. By the way, did you know that Gerard Piqué bought Gimnàstic Manresa in 2019 and became yet another one of his business enterprises? Did Pep have something to do with this? Some sort of nexus between the two parties? Leave us your opinion in the comments below. Anyways, as you may have guessed, Guardiola's journey with Gimnàstic wasn't long. Soon enough, scouts from FC Barcelona spotted him and knew immediately that the 13-year-old teenager was Blaugrana material. Pep's parents
Oh wow, really? Okay. So he was good. So he was a good player,
spotted him
even at 13.
and knew immediately that the 13-year-old teenager was Blaugrana material. Pep's parents were not particularly eager to agree on sending their young son to the Catalonian capital away from his family. Still, the midfielder's desire was so strong that he managed to convince them. The year was 1984, and without knowing, Barcelona had just signed the person who would build the club's golden era. But as weeks went by, young Josep wasn't feeling as good as he imagined. He was homesick and even wondered if he should quit on his dream. His father Valenti admitted that they weren't happy times for the family either, as they noted that Pep was suffering instead of enjoying. We were certainly very happy at the beginning, but when he used to call up, it was clear that he was missing his family, and his mother used to cry. It was very painful to be apart. It makes us wonder, how many great potential ballers did the world miss due to the difficulties of leaving home at such a young age? Luckily,
Yeah, that's true.
ballers did the world miss due to the difficulties of leaving home at such a young age. Luckily, this wasn't Pep's case. His incredible mindset was wrought at that exact moment. Once Guardiola overcame the logistical obstacles of leaving his hometown behind, he became one of La Masia's best prospects. For those of you who don't watch him as a player, Guardiola was a spectacular central midfielder.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that.
For those of you who don't watch him as a player, Guardiola was a spectacular central midfielder. Intelligence, vision, passing, positioning, distribution, reading of the game, you name it. Whatever ability you wanted to see in a defensive midfielder, Guardiola could easily execute it. His uncanny potential was only exceeded by his commitment to the club. Anyone could tell that when he made it as a pro, he'd quickly become a team leader. His first chance with the main team finally came in 1990, when Guardiola was
1990, so he was 19, I think.
a team leader. His first chance with the main team finally came in 1990, when Guardiola was only 19 years old. The coach at that time was no other than the Blaugrana legend Johan Cruyff.
Ah, okay. I remember seeing that earlier. Was it in? I don't remember where I saw it. Yeah. Okay. So he was his coach.
Years old. The coach at that time was no other than the Blaugrana legend Johan Cruyff. The Dutchman saw in Guardiola a natural-born leader and played a key role in Pep's development not only as a footballer, but also in setting the cornerstone to his future coaching career. For Guardiola, having played under Cruyff was fundamental to his understanding of the game. In other words, the Dutchman was responsible for Pep's evolution from player to manager. After he coached Ajax, he came to Barcelona. It was a big club, but it didn't have a specific football culture.
Okay. After he coached Ajax, he came to Barcelona. It was a big club, but it didn't have specific football culture. I know he just read that, but I just wanted to understand it.
After he coached Ajax, he came to Barcelona. It was a big club, but it didn't have a specific football culture. We had one Argentina coach who played an Argentinian style, then a German coach who played a German style. But then Johan arrived and he said, guys, now we play this way. Cruyff's total football marked an era, not only for FC Barcelona, but also for his young star player. Guardiola was instantly enchanted by the Dutchman's idea of possession and absolute control of the ball in order to dominate the game. When I was there, you see 7-year-old.
I think I remember seeing a clip of him saying that everything starts with the ball. So everything is about the ball. So this is where he gets it from, about possession.
And absolute control of the ball in order to dominate the game. When I was there, you see 7-year-old kids doing the same training session with the same patterns as the first team. He created something from nothing, and you have to have a lot of charisma and personality to say, you must go in that way, and everybody follows. That's so difficult to find. Wow, that sounds familiar, right? That's because it wouldn't be surprising if someone said that about Pep himself. Guardiola seized the opportunity to extract the best concepts from the Cruyff way and implement throughout his coaching career. In fact, even though he's widely considered to be one of the greatest coaches of all time, Guardiola assured that he wouldn't have made it as a coach without the Dutchman's guidance. Without Johan Cruyff, I wouldn't be here. I know for sure this is why I am, right now, the manager of Manchester City, and before that, Bayern Munich and Barcelona. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes, we are. It's okay.
Of Manchester City, and before that, Bayern Munich and Barcelona. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back up a little bit and understand just how good Guardiola did as an FC Barcelona footballer. When Guardiola made it to the first team, Barcelona was basically overshadowed by an incredible Real Madrid side who had won the last 5 editions of La Liga. If on top of that you add the fact that Barcelona hadn't won a single European Cup, what we know today as the Champions League, and Madrid already had 6 trophies, the Blaugrana weren't good enough yet to put up a fair fight against Los Blancos. As we said, Guardiola became a pivotal part of the team a few months after his first professional game. Pep was the missing piece in the dream team puzzle that Cruyff was building, and with the midfielder leading the team's distribution, Barcelona became the best team in the world. Remember we said that Madrid had won 5 leagues in a row? Well, the Blaugrana won the following 4 consecutive seasons. But Guardiola and the dream team made a name for themselves in the history books when in 1992 they won the first European Cup for Barcelona. Guardiola played a crucial role in the heart of Barcelona's
1992 first European Cup. Wow. Seems like I would have thought they would have won one sometime before that.
first European Cup for Barcelona. Guardiola played a crucial role in the heart of Barcelona's midfield during the final, orchestrating the team's play in a tightly contested affair against Sampdoria. Keep in mind that he was just 21 years old at the time. Pep quickly became the club's emblem as the embodiment of Cruyff's big picture idea. Guardiola was a living testament to the power of youth development within a coherent style of play. The youngster from Sampdoria would heroically represent Barcelona for 11 full seasons, lifting 16 trophies in the meantime. By 2001, a bad streak of injuries and surgeries made it impossible for him to keep up with the expectations, so he went overseas to finish the last few years of his spectacular career. Spells at Brescia and Roma in Italy, Al Ahly in Qatar, and Dorados in Mexico.
It's just interesting when he said overseas. I don't know. I don't know what I thought that was, but because he said Italy, and that doesn't sound like it's overseas. But he did go to Mexico.
Keep up with the expectations, so he went overseas to finish the last few years of his spectacular career. Spells at Brescia and Roma in Italy, Al Ahly in Qatar, and Dorados in Mexico allowed Pep to end his journey as a footballer with dignity. But his journey in football was far from being over. Guardiola used his last season as a player partially to prepare himself as a coach. That's why, during his spell in Qatar, he learned how to speak English fluently. But also, when he joined the Mexican League, he seized the opportunity to work alongside Spaniard manager Juan Manuel Lillo. So why is his name important? Well, Pep revealed years later that thanks to Lillo, he learned how a team should work without the ball. Then, the Dorados coach taught Guardiola that a team should have first a strong defensive discipline in order to build a deadly attacking strategy. After retiring from professional activity, FC Barcelona quickly signed Pep as the main coach of the Blaugrana B-side. The president, Juan Laporta, was surprised by Guardiola's obsession in analyzing the rivals, even if they were teams from Spain's 4th division. The Catalonian had learned that from the coach he admired the most. Cruyff? Try again. Lillo? Nope, not him either.
Mystery.
The coach that Guardiola...
That was good.
The coach that Guardiola praised the most is Marcelo Bielsa, even though they never worked.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
The coach that Guardiola praised the most is Marcelo Bielsa. Even though they never worked together, Pep had been totally impressed by the Argentine's work ethic throughout the years, and his admiration stands to this day.
My admiration for Marcelo Bielsa is huge. So, because he made the players better, not much better. He helped me a lot from his advices. When I am able to speak with him, I feel he want to help me. That's why for me, the best coach in the world.
Do you agree with Pep?
Oh, wow.
Is Bielsa among the best coaches in the world?
Do you agree with that? I don't even know who that is. So obviously I got to find that out, because obviously he's potentially the best coach in the world. So you got to find that out.
The best coach in the world.
Do you agree with Pep? Is Bielsa among the best coaches in the world? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. But whether you agree or disagree with Pep's concept on Bielsa, the Argentine influenced Guardiola in his early days as the head coach of FC Barcelona B. Almost as if his career was scripted, Guardiola's journey as a coach was a huge success since day one. The Catalan signed for the 2007-2008 season and found a squad full of future stars from La Masia, the likes of Sergio Busquets, Thiago Alcantara, and Pedro. Instantly, Pep gathered concepts from his 3 influential coaches.
Okay, hold on. I just want to understand this.
Day one. The Catalans signed. Guardiola's journey as a coach was a Barcelona B. Almost as if he's Guardiola in his... Do you agree or disagree with Pep's concept on Bielsa? The Argentine influenced Guardiola in his early days as the head coach of FC Barcelona B. Almost as if his career was scripted, Guardiola's journey as a coach was a huge success since day one. The Catalans signed for the 2007-2008 season.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out what year it was. Okay, 2007, 2008.
And found a squad full of future stars from La Masia, the likes of Sergio Busquets, Thiago Alcantara, and Pedro. Instantly, Pep gathered concepts from his 3 influential coaches. He formed a strong tactical system to emulate Cruyff's total football, built a disciplined defense as Lillo taught him in Mexico, and convinced the players to constantly attack as he saw in Bielsa's teams. These qualities took Barcelona B to finally fight for promotion, and after beating Barbastro in the playoffs, the Blaugrana B side was was promoted to the third tier of Spanish football. Guardiola's debut as a coach couldn't have gone better, and Pep acknowledged that the experience with Barca B was fundamental in his development. Definitely, it was so good for me. It was good because I had a game per week. I had enough time to analyze my process, and no flashes, no media. It was the first and only time in his coaching career when he could work without having the fans and media following every single one of his steps. Still, just 1 year after his signing, it was clear that he was meant for bigger challenges. Barcelona's first team was struggling. 2 years after winning their first UCL trophy, Frank Rijkaard was widely criticized, and Laporta decided to terminate the coach's journey in the club. The president had to appoint a new manager, and Guardiola popped up in his mind. They met, and Laporta expressed his idea to Pep, who defied the president. "You don't have the Pep's reaction was what convinced Laporta.
Wait. Hold up. Hold up. Let me hear that again.
Years after winning their first UCL trophy, Frank Rijkaard was widely criticized, and Laporta decided to terminate the coach's journey in the club. The president had to appoint a new manager, and Guardiola popped up in his mind. They met, and Laporta expressed his idea to Pep, who defied the president. "You don't have the Pep's reaction was what convinced Laporta, who revealed that the coach was adamant that he would make history. In that moment, he told me that he was going to work hard, and he also said, "I know why you want to bring me as a coach, because you know that if I'm the coach, we'll win everything."
Oh my God. Wow. So why would he say that? You don't have the, it's YouTube, so I got to be careful what I say. But why is he saying like he doesn't have the, to hire a new coach or to hire somebody from the third level? Maybe that's what he's saying. Dang, I love this guy. Hold up. Look at this. "I know why you want to bring me as a coach, because you know that if I'm the coach, we'll win everything." Okay, I like this guy.
"You want to bring me as a coach, because you know that if I'm the coach, we'll win everything." There wasn't too much else to say for the president, who understood that Guardiola was the right man to lead the project.
I just want to say, my favorite coach, I got a couple favorite coaches in the NBA, but my favorite coach of all time is Phil Jackson. And that's how he was. Like, that if I come here, we're going to win. Like and it was true. And my other favorite coach is Greg Popovich. But anyway, so that reminds me of something that Phil Jackson would say. Like, wherever I go, we win. And that is true.
A few else to say for the president, who understood that Guardiola was the right man to lead the project. A few weeks later, the idol was finally announced as the head coach of the first team. And even though his performance with the B team was fantastic, he knew exactly why he replaced Rijkaard. "I don't deny that if I'm here, it's not because of what I did in 1 year with the B team, but due to what I did here as a footballer." The legend would finally return to the Camp Nou. A new era had begun. The Guardiola knew that the current squad wouldn't be a good fit with his philosophy and tactical ideas. So days after his meeting with Laporta, he drafted what would become one of the best teams in football history. He said goodbye to Brazilian legend Ronaldinho in a controversial decision that earned him a lot of criticism. Guardiola wanted to give an even bigger role to rising star Lionel Messi, who at the point was considered.
Okay, so does that mean that Messi and Ronaldinho only played together for 1 year? Is that what that's saying? So they played together for 1 year before Pep got there. I think that's what that means.
Brazilian legend Ronaldinho in a controversial decision that earned him a lot of criticism. Guardiola wanted to give an even bigger role to rising star Lionel Messi, who at the point was considered a world-class baller, but was far from the player we know today. With strong players in the midfield and the attack, Pep understood that he had to sign defenders who could respect his idea of possession to build the attack. So he went after two guys who had done pretty well in the previous season. UCL winner Gerard Piqué, directly from European champions Manchester United, and Dani Alves, who had won 5 trophies with Sevilla. After easily winning the Champions League play.
5 trophies with Sevilla? Sorry, I know it's not a Sevilla video, but I think somebody did tell me that. Wow, I didn't know that they won that many. I also know I don't think they're that good right now.
United, and Dani Alves, who had won 5 trophies with Sevilla. After easily winning the Champions League playoff, a slow start in La Liga with only 1 point after 2 games brought a few doubts over Guardiola's appointment. But then the unimaginable happened. FC Barcelona started to destroy whatever obstacle got in their way. An indestructible team with Carlos Puyol as the defensive leader, plus arguably the best midfield trio that's ever been formed by Xavi, Iniesta, and a youngster, Busquets, who Guardiola moved to the first team that season, by the way. And the unstoppable Lionel Messi, scoring almost in every game and assisting veteran phenomenons Thierry Henry and Samuel Eto'o.
What? I don't think I knew Thierry Henry played there.
Almost in every game.
I swear, man, everybody has played everywhere. I don't know who has played where. I was like, Thierry Henry played here too?
That season, by the way. And the unstoppable Lionel Messi, scoring almost in every game and assisting veteran phenomenons Thierry Henry and Samuel Eto'o. Some projects need time to start bringing results, but Guardiola's Barcelona had an instant impact. They won 19 out of their following 20 La Liga games, including Pep's first El Clasico as a coach. Things couldn't be going better, but when it comes to European giants, the fans demanded titles, and the second half.
Okay. I mean, I know this is coming along and he's probably going to say this, but I'm just wondering, like, why he left Barcelona. Like, what happened? Something had to have happened.
Things couldn't be going better, but when it comes to European giants, the fans demanded titles, and the second half of the season would define if Pep was a success or a failure as the head coach. Not even the most optimistic fan could have imagined what Guardiola and his lads would achieve that year. As you may have guessed, Barcelona easily won La Liga, but also humiliated Real Madrid by beating them 6-2 in the Santiago Bernabeu. Meanwhile, the team's confidence in the Champions League was growing at every step. After leading the group stage, they faced 7 times in a row French champions Lyon, who succumbs after a spectacular 5-2 defeat at the Camp Nou. Bavarian giants FC Bayern were next, but a wonderful Messi took care of them. The first leg ended at 4-0, which made a second leg almost unnecessary. But in the semi-finals, Guardiola and the Blaugrana almost saw their dream fade away. Chelsea was awaiting, and a sensation of revenge after the 2006 scandal surrounded the whole game. After a goalless draw in the first
2006 scandals surrounded the whole game. I got to remember that. I'm about to put that over here because that sounds like something we might want to see. All right, that might be something we might want to see.
Of revenge after the 2006 scandal surrounded the whole game. After a goalless draw in the first leg, the ticket to the final would be decided in Stamford Bridge. The English side were the first who managed to control Pep's team the whole season and were seconds away from reaching the final when an unforgettable shot from Iniesta silenced the blue side of London. Thanks.
I like Iniesta. Messi's my guy, but Iniesta is up there.
Final, when an unforgettable shot from Iniesta silenced the blue side of London. Thanks to away goals, Barcelona was once again in the Champions League final. By that point, fans, media, and why not Pep himself wondering, can Barcelona actually reach the treble? No Spanish team had achieved it so far, but after winning La Liga, they destroyed.
No Spanish team had completed the treble? Man. Oh. Is that because, like, teams in the Premier League dominated for so long? Is that why? I don't know. I just thought that Barcelona, or at least some Spanish team, would have been good enough.
Reached the treble. No Spanish team had achieved it so far, but after winning La Liga, they destroyed Athletic Club to lift the Copa del Rey trophy. There was just one remaining game to complete a perfect season, the Champions League final. Title defenders Manchester United were the last obstacle at the Olympico Stadium in Rome. Barcelona dominated the game, and Eto'o scored the opener after only 10 minutes. Without controlling the ball as Pep would have wanted, the Blaugrana almost didn't suffer. And 20 minutes before the final whistle was blown, Messi secured the tie with an incredible header that left Van der Sar still witnessing greatness. Barcelona and Pep made the impossible possible. They won the treble, and with only 2 years as a coach, Guardiola was already considered the best in the world. Barcelona, as we said, was the first team from La Liga to win the treble. But some clubs like Ajax or Man United the year before had also reached the Triple Crown. Heck, even Celtic reached a quadruple in 1967. So for Guardiola and his squad, the question was simple. How do you exceed a treble? The answer: by winning every single possible club trophy. The Blaugrana started the 2009-10 season by beating Shakhtar Donetsk and Athletic Club to win the Spanish and European Super Cups. Oh, and we forgot to mention that the coach chose to let Eto'o go.
He's about to punch this dude.
And European Super Cups. Oh, and we forgot to mention that the coach chose to let Eto'o go and signed Zlatan Ibrahimovic to replace.
Oh, we'll let Eto'o go. But we'll bring in, I don't know. Let's get Ibrahimovic. I mean, why not? Wow. They just had an embarrassment of riches.
Forgot to mention that the coach chose to let Eto'o go and signed Zlatan Ibrahimovic to replace him. Talk about increasing the quality of the team. Anyway, the only remaining title pending for Pep's Barca was the Club World Cup. Perhaps that's why, after winning it, Guardiola bursted out in tears.
Okay. So, I mean, I keep pausing it, but it's like my brain is computing all this stuff and stuff's coming up. So the Club World Cup, from what I understand, is like not very good, or people don't like it right now. Does that sound right? I don't know. But back then, there was something important.
The Club World Cup. Perhaps that's why, after winning it, Guardiola bursted out in tears. Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't easy for Barcelona to win the Club World Cup. In fact, Argentine side Estudiantes was winning the final until the 88th minute when Pedro scored the equalizer. A chess score by Messi in extra time gave Barcelona what no one had achieved before. 6 tournaments, 6 titles. Nothing and no one seemed to be able to beat Pep's dream team. But soon enough, their
6 tournaments and 6 titles in 1 year, I'm assuming.
Nothing and no one seemed to be able to beat Pep's dream team. But soon enough, their nemesis would show their face. Despite losing to Sevilla in the Copa del Rey round of 16, Barcelona's performance was undeniable. They managed to win La Liga despite facing Real Madrid with their new star signing Cristiano Ronaldo. Their wildest dream still was to win back-to-back UCL trophies. But their biggest goal would find its end in the hands of Inter and their Portuguese coach. You know, the guy who said that Barcelona didn't deserve to win the 2006 Champions League. The special one, the one and only Jose Mourinho.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit arrogant. Please don't call me arrogant.
Guardiola had already had
I'm sorry, I'm arrogant, but don't call me arrogant. That's hilarious.
Jose Mourinho.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit arrogant. Please don't call me arrogant.
Guardiola had already had the pleasure to face Mourinho in the group stage, but they were now facing each other in the semi-finals. The total football plus possession masterclass from Guardiola clashed against the wild Catenaccio foul and counter-attacking strategy from Mourinho, and the Portuguese came out victorious.
Sana awe.
The first leg was exactly as Mourinho planned, with the Italians closing all the paths and beating Guardiola's squad 3-1. The 1-0 victory in the second leg was not enough for Barcelona. The scene was heartbreaking, and Guardiola had to witness Mourinho's epic celebrations at the Camp Nou. Wow. By that point, it was clear for everyone in Barcelona that Pep and Jose were now the 2 most polarizing coaches. And this became even clearer when Mourinho joined Real Madrid for the 2010-2011 season. Moreover, the tensions in the dressing room...
Oh my God. This is getting good.
Joined Real Madrid for the 2010-2011 season. Moreover, the tensions in the dressing room was palpable, as Pep and Zlatan had literally stopped talking to each other. Ibra's journey with the club was over, and Guardiola brought Spanish icon David Villa to complete his attack. They started the season winning another Spanish Super Cup and put up an incredibly tight fight with Los Blancos in La Liga. When the first El Clasico of the season arrived, Madrid was leading the tournament. But at the Camp Nou, Guardiola humiliated Mourinho like no one had done before. Barcelona destroyed their rivals with a historic 5-0 win, which led to a 16-game consecutive winning streak in La Liga. Do you remember that Clasico? Can you tell us how many goals Messi scored that day? Don't forget to comment. Guardiola once again won.
I can't, because I don't know. I'm sure somebody out there could tell me.
Can you tell us how many goals Messi scored that day? Don't forget to comment. Guardiola once again won La Liga, his third domestic league in 3 seasons coaching the team. But we need to emphasize that the 2010-2011 season was truly a dream for Pep and a nightmare for Mourinho. Why? Because Barcelona and Real Madrid clashed in the Champions League semi-finals yet again. Pep and Mourinho faced each other in the same instance as they did the previous season, only that this time the Catalan manager had learned from his mistakes. Barcelona won the first leg at the Santiago Bernabeu thanks to Messi's brace, and the tie in the second leg gave them the chance to play another.
Oh man, that's some of my players out there. You can't just be throwing them around like crazy.
Thanks to Messi's brace, and the tie in the second leg gave them the chance to play another UCL final, the second one in 3 years under Guardiola. The rival, Manchester United, the same as the 2009 title. With all due respect for Red Devils fans watching this, it's hard to find a Champions League final where a team was so much better than their opponents. Barcelona controlled every single aspect of the game, and the 3-1 victory was short in comparison to what both teams did on the field. Pep and his dream team did it again. They were crowned European champions and confirmed that they were one of the...
Wow, Henry is still on there. So they must have kind of got him in his prime.
Did it again. They were crowned European champions and confirmed that they were one of the best teams in football history. And no, we didn't forget about the Copa del Rey final in which Madrid defeated Barca, but it's safe to say that it didn't serve much for consolation for Mourinho and Los Blancos. Guardiola's 4th season at Barcelona was perhaps the most tormentous one. Despite having signed Cesc Fabregas to improve an already incredible midfield, the team struggled and didn't manage to Fabregas to improve an already incredible midfield.
Okay. Iniesta, Messi, and I think I forgot who that is.
Midfield, the team struggled and didn't manage to keep up with expectations, at least when it comes to results. But above all, it was a hard time because Pep literally spent half of the season talking about his departure from the club. Don't get us wrong, they started the campaign winning. Guess what? The Spanish Super Cup, again, and the European Super Cup, again. Sorry if I sound repetitive, folks, but this guy just wouldn't stop winning. Still, Barcelona couldn't maintain their dominance in La Liga, and for the first time under Guardiola, they finished in 2nd place, behind Real Madrid. A few days later, the Blaugrana received Chelsea for the Champions League semi-finals. The Blues won the first leg in London 1-0, and the Blaugrana threw away a 2-goal difference after Messi missed a penalty. The English side tied the game, and visibly distraught, Guardiola confirmed his departure a few days later.
Dang. I mean, it's hard because he probably wanted to go out like close to on top. I mean, granted, he wasn't on top. He's a second. I don't know. He's like a victim of his own success, it sounds like. He had gotten so good that you can't, like, if you lose, that's it. That kind of happened to Phil Jackson. He was so good, and then when they lost with the Bulls, they got rid of him. And he was so good with the Lakers that when the last championship that he lost with the Lakers, the last season, that was his last season.
Tied the game, and visibly distraught, Guardiola confirmed his departure a few days later. The Club World Cup title and a new Copa del Rey trophy weren't enough to convince Pep to stay, even though his players, including Lionel Messi, implored him to stay.
Nosotros lo que queremos, y ya lo dijimos muchas veces, es que él siga con nosotros por el bien de todos.
Jo espero i desitjo i vull que renovi. No estem preparats, no. Ens agradaria que seguís, i molts anys, clar que sí.
But neither Messi nor Xavi could change Pep's mind. In a press conference with his players among the attendees, Guardiola explained why he was leaving the club of his life.
L'error és molt simple, són 4 anys, el temps ho desgasta tot.
Okay, in case some of you can't read this, it says, the reason is very simple. It's been 4 years. Time passes by and I'm worn out.
Jo m'he desgastat, m'he buidat i necessito omplir-me.
I need a break.
Aquesta és la raó fonamental per la qual vaig comunicar el mes de
This is the fundamental reason for which I communicated back in September or October to the president and the sporting director.
Esportiu de que la meva etapa com a entrenador del Barça s'estava acabant. En octubre, tant el president com el director esportiu de que la meva etapa com
that my era as the coach of FC Barcelona was coming to an end. Oh, man.
Entrenador del Barça s'estava acabant.
Guardiola left FC Barcelona after 4 years and having added 14 trophies to the club's cabinet. But above all, he left
Only 4 years? Damn. I guess it just is a grind, sounds like, because 4 years doesn't seem like a long time, but he probably was burnt out.
4 years and having added 14 trophies to the club's cabinet. But above all, he left a legacy that will forever be remembered. The years he spent in Barcelona were proof of Guardiola's tactical genius. His touch on Leo Messi, which turned the Argentinian youngster into the deadliest false nine the game has ever seen, alone was a monumental achievement. But the invention of the Messi zone was not going to be the only influence Pep Guardiola would have on Barcelona or European football for that matter. After the huge success he had with the Catalan side, Guardiola took a surprising decision and gave himself a year-long sabbatical. At the time, that was an unexpected move to say at the least, especially because it was made by a man who lived and breathed football. But the Catalan mastermind was sure of himself, and the way he described why he needed a break was revealing about how he approached the game. 4 years is an eternity as Barca coach. I have given everything and I have nothing left and need to recharge my batteries. This was Guardiola.
That's true. I could see that. I could see that. Again, Phil Jackson, that's what he did. After the Bulls won, he went away for a while. He went to some island and was reading a book and doing meditations and yoga and everything. And then after, I don't remember exactly how many years, he came back to the Lakers. So that makes sense.
Guardiola back when he was just 41 years old. And please bear in mind that this was coach. I have given everything and I have nothing left and need to recharge my batteries. This was Guardiola back when he was just 41 years old. And please bear in mind that there was no talk of overthinking causing him trophies.
He was just 41? So that means he was doing all this winning and stuff when he was like 36, 37, 38? Wow. That's crazy.
1 years old. And please bear in mind that there was no talk of overthinking causing him trophies whatsoever back then. But this was proof that long before it even became a topic among football fans and pundits, Guardiola was doing his own thing. The basic idea behind Guardiola's take on football has always been the same, and it is what has been called as juego de posición. That's position play for those of you who don't even speak un poquito Spanish. Apart from that foundation though, Guardiola's tactics evolved over the years, and they evolved constantly. His use of defensive midfielders and fullbacks alone had countless variations over the years. Guardiola's sides incorporated single and dynamic double pivots in the midfield, and don't let us even get started with fullbacks, overlapping and underlapping in a myriad of ways. The Catalan and his inverted backs continue to be a bit of geometry, but also poetry for the students of the beautiful game. Before we get to the next steps in his career and how he got back from his sabbatical in New York to Munich and then to Manchester, let's talk a bit more about Guardiola doing things his own way. Because to think that this concept applies to tactics and tactics only would be a huge mistake. Because for a man as obsessed with football as Guardiola, the game can never be about 90 minutes. As tedious as it sounds, football is a 24/7 job for Pep. And he has some bizarre rules that must be respected at all costs by his employees. Guardiola reinvented Messi with his touch on the pitch, but his impact on the Argentinian was far-reaching. We're talking about an impact that crept its way into Leo's bedroom. Now let me explain before anyone tries to cancel Pep, for goodness sake. During Guardiola's reign at Barcelona, Messi was practically walking on water, and as crazy as it sounds, the young man would almost never get injured. While some thought this was the football gods intervening when necessary to keep the prodigious player on the pitch as much as possible, Samir Nasri argued that the secret to Messi's stability and longevity was elsewhere.
Wait for it.
Really?
Namely behind Guardiola's strict rules about sex.
Whoa. I mean, let's just keep going, okay?
Behind Guardiola's strict rules about sex. Talking about his brief experience with the Catalan on his early days in the Man City dugout, the Frenchman said this to the absolute surprise of everyone on the planet. On a day off, Guardiola told us that anyone who wanted to have sexual relations should do so before midnight because they tend to have a good night's sleep. He said he did it with Messi, and since then, he hasn't had a muscle injury. You know where the colloquial word for sexual intercourse comes from? Fornication under the consent of the king. But in that sense, the consent comes straight from Pep, according to Nasri.
More than ever want to stay that.
You would be wrong to think about Pep Guardiola as a coach and a coach only, because given the time he spends tinkering with every single detail about the game and his players, the Catalan is more like an all-seeing eye, dealing with so much more than tactics. And that includes who eats what, when, where, and how much. Don't believe me? Listen to what Gaël Clichy has to say about it.
Guardiola, c'est quelqu'un qui aime son équipe. C'est lui qui te donne ton poids de forme, par exemple, tu vois. On termine la pré-saison, c'est lui qui te donne ton poids de forme. Donc si toi tu penses que ton poids de forme c'est 69 kg et qu'il te dit que non, ton poids de forme c'est 64, mais si toi depuis 6 ans t'es à 69, comment tu descends à 64 kg, tu vois? Mais lui il te dit c'est 64. Et tant que tu descends pas à 64, tu joues pas.
Although he's not a nutritionalist himself, Guardiola knows a thing or two about eating healthy, and that's in large part thanks to one of his earlier colleagues from Barcelona, Silvia Tremoleda. A sports nutritionalist and triathlete by trade, Tremoleda followed Pep around Europe at the request of the manager, and she was basically responsible for every one of Pep's team's dietary habits. So when Pep was taking snacks out of the club's premises wherever he worked, or when he insisted that players should eat together in an hour at the latest after home games, that was in a way Tremoleda's making. Do you know what the first ever managerial decision Guardiola took on in his very first day at Bayern Munich? No, Joshua Kimmich's positional change came so much further down the line. No, on his very first day, Guardiola was spotted at the Allianz Arena with a measuring stick. The Catalan was dissatisfied with how long the grass was on the ground, as he believed that anything longer than 3 millimeters would mean a slowdown in his side's almost rhythmic flow and passing. Guardiola also asked the board to get the pitch wetter, conditions he still forces upon his Mancunian side. Pep Guardiola is a notoriously tough man to please. According to the Catalan, no player is perfect, apart from Leo Messi, of course, and every single player needs to give 100% of the time. Even though this has been talked about a lot in relation to Joao Cancelo's exit from his Man City, Guardiola was clear about his attitude towards players with bad faces a long time ago. Back in 2017...
Wait, players with bad face? Man, this video is so dang good. Okay. Let me go back here.
A lot in relation to Joao Cancelo's exit from his Man City, Guardiola was clear about his attitude towards players with bad faces a long time ago. Back in 2017, the Catalan went on record and said, "You cannot create something when people who are not playing regularly are creating problems. Bad faces, bad behavior from those guys. When that happens, forget about it. You cannot stay if it happens." Yikes. No messing about with Guardiola. Pep Guardiola's sides play a commanding style of football 99% of any given season, and regardless of who he's facing, the Catalan wants to dominate the game. Whether it's the Champions League against Europe's best, or the first round of the FA Cup against a side whose talent pool is a droplet compared to the ocean at Pep's disposal. His sides want to score as much as they can, and it's really Pep asking for it. Questioned if his side's overwhelming victories against weaker sides throughout the years are a sign of disrespect, Guardiola always held his ground. Because for the Catalan, what others call mercilessness is the biggest way of showing respect to one's opponent. It's the best way to respect the competition and respect the opponents. If you are 4-0 up and forget to continue, you don't have respect for the competition or your opponent.
That's true. Oh, I like this guy.
If you are 4-0 up and forget to continue, you don't have respect for the competition or your opponent. The best way is to do what we have to do. Well, that's not good news for any of his opponents now, is it? We've been sidetracked with the bizarre Pep rules enough already, so let's get back to where he left things off. The famous return from sabbatical. Pep Guardiola hinted at his return to coaching at the 2012 FIFA Ballon d'Or Gala in Zurich. 9 days later, he was presented as Bayern Munich's new coach. Pep switched from...
Okay, I didn't know that. So he went to Bundesliga, right?
In Zurich. 9 days later, he was presented as Bayern Munich's new coach. Pep's switch from Mesque un Club to Mir San Mir was inspiring, but whichever way you look at it, this was going to be a challenge, even for Pep. The Bavarians had one of the best seasons in their entire history under legendary manager Jupp Heynckes. and they were coming fresh off a treble. Besides, on their way to Champions League glory, they had beaten Pep's old team Barcelona in an utterly dominant fashion, with an aggregate that reads 7-0 over 2 legs, impressing the Bavarian dominant fashion, with an aggregate that reads 7-0 over 2 legs. Impressing the Bavarian fan base after such a season was a challenge, alright, but Pep, being Pep, he forced himself into a bigger challenge by completely overhauling the way Bayern Munich played as soon as he arrived. And this was Pep the Defiant at work once again, doing things his way. In an interview with the BBC, which would take place long after his days in Bavaria, Pep was asked to describe his life, love, football and family in 6 songs. And not surprisingly, one of the songs he picked was New York, New York by Frank Sinatra.
King of the Hill. Really?
His first ever game as Bayern Munich coach was against the bitter rivals Borussia Dortmund in the German Super Cup. And it was pretty rough for Pep. The 4-2 defeat his side suffered was disheartening, but he had enough time ahead to correct and then make everything as close to perfect as possible. Like we discussed earlier, he started from how long the grass was supposed to be at the Allianz Arena and slowly but surely built his side into one of the biggest powerhouses Bundesliga has seen in recent years. In his first season at the Bavarian side, Guardiola won the FIFA Club World Cup, UEFA Super Cup, DFB Pokal and the Bundesliga. Thiago Alcantara, the only player Pep insisted on signing as soon as he arrived, was influential in his success. Legend has it that his very first sentence in German was Thiago oder nix. Thiago or nothing. The following year, the Catalan further expanded his options in the DM with Philipp Lahm, creating yet another incredibly successful out-of-position player, just like he did with Javier Mascherano in Barcelona. But the real difference in his 2-3-5 formation in possession was the ease in which Frank Ribery and Arjen Robben operated on the attack. Plus, there was now a new certain Polish striker leading the team up front. Robert Lewandowski was leaving Pep in awe. All the while, Pep and his team were dropping jaws left, right and center. In his 3 years in charge of the German Giants, Pep Guardiola got 82 wins in 102 Bundesliga games, racking up a ridiculous 80.4% winning rate, absolutely destroying the previous record held by Ottmar Hitzfeld with 58.4%. Not all was smooth sailing though. Okay, maybe it was for Guardiola himself, but not for every single player he managed. The Catalan already had a few serious clashes with his players before joining Bayern Munich. Samuel Eto'o, for example, had left Barcelona only because of Guardiola.
Oh, I didn't know that. You left that out.
Bayern Munich. Samuel Eto'o, for example, had left Barcelona only because of Guardiola. The 4-time African Player of the Year thought the Catalan didn't respect him, proved also by Pep trying to give Eto'o's beloved number 9 jersey to Thierry Henry. The man Guardiola brought in to replace the Cameroon international Zlatan Ibrahimovic also had his fair share of problems with Pep, and their relationship had ended after the Swede yelled to Guardiola, quote, "You are yourself because of Jose Mourinho, you can go to hell." Although it wasn't anything that serious, Mario Mandzukic, Frank Ribery, Mario Götze and Dante all went through tumultuous times with their manager. Pep was looking for an entirely different thing in his strikers, and the Croatian was nowhere near fulfilling Pep's desires. Frank Ribery's case was more complicated. The Frenchman revealed only after Ancelotti took over from Pep that he always had trust issues with the Catalan. Ancelotti is a great coach. I need people like him, Jupp Heynckes or Ottmar Hitzfeld. I need this trust in me to play off my strengths. He is still a young coach. He lacks experience. Sometimes he talks too much. Football is very simple. Mario Götze and Dante's gripes were less about football, but more about Guardiola as a person. Both players felt that their manager cared about nothing other than what happens on the pitch. Götze even went as far as saying, Guardiola didn't have much empathy, and empathy is part of being a world-class coach. Despite the quintessential ups and downs with some of his players in Munich, when he said of Wiedersehen to Germany, Pep had racked up 7 trophies, including 3 consecutive Bundesliga titles. But when talking about his experience in Germany, he was going to say that it was a failure. Clearly a dig at people who called him that, since he didn't get to repeat the treble his predecessor achieved. Around the same time, Pep not winning the Champions League was already a meme for so many people. There was truth behind the jokes and this narrative about him being cursed for so many people. Guardiola winning the Big Ears was out of the question without a certain Leo Messi. Although he did prove otherwise. He needed some time, a few more clashes, and a lot of resources. On February 2016, Manchester City's board announced...
That's true. I could see how people would say that. that because he had all this crazy talent, that's the only reason that he won. Sounds like the Dodgers manager right now, Dave Roberts. People think he only wins because he has all this amazing talent. So I know I keep making references to, to American or USA, whatever sports. I mean, it's just what I got.
And a lot of resources. On February 2016, Manchester City's board announced that Manuel Pellegrini will leave the club at the end of the season to be replaced by none other than Pep Guardiola. The very man that was hunted by both Chelsea and Manchester United, the Catalan had more must-haves in his initial transfer list compared to what he had in Munich. That didn't pose a single problem though, as his new employers not only had the resources, but also the desire to go all in to achieve success in European competitions. Pep's first transfers were Ilkay Gundogan from Borussia Dortmund, Nolito from Celta Vigo, Leroy Sané from Schalke, and John Stones from Everton. These were not the only names included in the squad though. Like he did in Munich, Guardiola was building things from the ground up to suit his playing style. That's why Joe Hart, a previous fan favourite and the man between the sticks for the Three Lions, was cut immediately from the team. Guardiola had convinced the board that for them to play the way he intended to, a goalkeeper needed to have impeccable ball-playing skills. When the man he brought in from Barcelona, Claudio Bravo, didn't do a good job either, he brought his current keeper, Edison, in. That was going to be a recurring theme. The owners of Manchester City were 100% behind their new manager, and they were willing to spend as much as they needed to please him. Although it looked like he could repeat what he did in Munich and win the league and the local cup in his first ever season in Manchester, Guardiola's 10-game winning streak from the opening week onwards ended, and then it all went haywire. Guardiola had the longest winless streak of his managerial career with 6 games in what ended up being the only trophyless season of his entire career.
Oh, wow.
And then, well, it's not that easy to explain, but let's just say that Guardiola went full Guardiola. His first ever trophy for...
Yes, I remember that. 2012, I think. Premier League championship against, was it Arsenal? No. I forget who it was.
Let's just say that Guardiola went full Guardiola. His first ever trophy for Man City was the League Cup, a trophy he won 4 years in a row. The second season was also the year the Citizens became the Centurions. His record-breaking Premier League winning 100-point season saw him extend his contract. It looked like his stay in Manchester was going to be much longer than his previous ones in Barcelona and Munich. While Man City were being haunted by financial fair play rules, and Guardiola himself was being accused of having problems with African players by Yaya Toure, what happened in and around the pitch mostly stayed intact. Guardiola kept on winning and dominating the Premier League. Apart from a single season where his side was surpassed by Liverpool, nothing stopped Pep and his men. His ever-growing and ever-so-expensive squad was a force to be reckoned with. But there was one little problem: the Champions League. Despite coming really close to winning it in 2021, the Catalan had once again switched the overthinking mode on against Chelsea in the final. And the price of not paying a DM, or playing Ilkay Gundogan as a DM, was losing. It took 2 more years of domestic success. Big signings like Jack Grealish, who set the record at the time for the most expensive transfer in Premier League history. And other key additions like Ruben Diaz and a certain Norwegian to change the course of history. Back in June 2023, Guardiola and Man City were crowned UEFA Champions League winners, realizing a historic continental treble for the club. As of today, Pep Guardiola has 14 major honors in his 7 seasons with the Citizens, and unlike his 2 previous experiences, he doesn't look like he wants to stop. You may think he is arrogant and maybe a bit obsessed with the game, alright, but regardless of your take on the man, nothing can change the fact that Pep Guardiola is one of, if not the greatest, managers of all time. Not just because of his ever-expanding trophy list, but simply because of how he constantly changes the way the game is played. So what do you think about Pep's legacy? Do you think he is the greatest of all time? If not, who is your greatest manager of all time? Be sure to let us know below. Guardiola's nemesis has had a name for quite some time. As Pep emerged as football's new big thing, Jose Mourinho was ready to become his public enemy. So have you seen Oh My Goals video on the Special One's career? You'll be surprised, believe us. Stay tuned for more spectacular football stories, and as always, thanks for watching.
All right. Oh man. Whew. That was good. That was really good. Now I see why UK wanted me to watch that. And my friend, who else was it? Alex D. That was a great documentary or movie, whatever. It was a great video. Man, he's an awesome coach. I mean, I guess he does run into some problems with some players, but his mentality is he just is about being the best. So, man, that was a great video. Thanks so much for recommending that. Hopefully you enjoyed it just as well, and hopefully you stuck around. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll definitely now have to check out Manchester City to see how they're doing. Put them on my list of teams just to follow, at least, so I can follow that coach. All right, as always, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video. Peace.